Existence is a mystery. Consciousness remains unquantified by science, and religion has yet to give us concrete proof of who or what we are. We are but a part of a much larger whole. The world-renowned Swiss alchemist Paracelsus postulated that man is a microcosm, or a little world, because he is an extract from all the stars and planets of the whole firmament, from the earth and its elements, and so he is their quintessence. To call us quinta essentia, or the fifth essence, is to say that we are the fifth element, one born of the philosophical four elements, which encompasses them all. It is that which is capable of producing the philosopher's stone, implying that somewhere deep within us lies the secret of all being. Join me in the mystery as we take the journey within. What up, though? It's your guy Justin getting it back in on the mystical mind state. So believe it or not, that quote of Paracelsus is literally the most shared post on my Tumblr. Like, it's crazy to me, but it also shows me exactly what type of content people are looking for. So we're about to do like Pearl Jam did in the 90s and Yield. Nothing? Nobody got that one? Yeah, alright. So, microcosm and macrocosm are essentially allegorical terms for a very old maxim found on the Emerald Tablet. Wiki Whatever would tell you alchemists believe that the structure of the universe and that of the person share the exact same makeup. I mean, obviously we should trust Wikipedia, but y'all can roll with it if you want to. It just happens to be a little bit deeper than that. See, it all goes back to the first Kemetic or Hermetic philosophy, depending on like what side of the discipline you're coming from. But Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice greatest sage, many believe to be the backbone of the wisdom tradition. We don't know the actual origin of the Emerald Tablet or how old it really is. Its first mention is in Kitab Sir al-Haliki, right, or the Book of the Secret of Creation and the Art of Nature. Obviously an Arabic work, but it's attributed to Belinus, a.k.a. Pseudo-Apollonius of Tyana, right? This thing has been translated by every alchemist and occultist our modern records can find. Blavatsky, Isaac Newton, Kriegsmann, Jabir ibn Hayyan, Fulcanelli, etc., etc. All landing on the same, that which is above is like that which is below maxim that we're talking about today. Leading to one of the best known occult phrases of all time. As above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. Now, if you're not familiar with the concept, pick up a copy of the Kybalion and digest its wisdom. They have a whole chapter dedicated to the law of correspondence. Also, it breaks down three basic planes of existence in really simple terms. 1, the great physical plane. 2, the great mental plane. And 3, the great spiritual plane. Now, most dyed-in-the-wool occultists just snuff this piece based on hearing the word Kybalion, but say what you want. It's a great introductory course, and every last one of us has read it. So, that's primary school. For those of you that want to get into secondary school and look a little bit deeper, let's dive in. Several Jewish mystical traditions have a similar system most students of the mysteries can easily digest. The blessed prophets, going all the way back to Moshe himself, all speak on the levels of soul. Now, most Westerners don't have an embedded sense of the levels of soul because most of our translations read the multiple Hebrew words for soul as simply soul. So that language barrier actually works against us. Since Sunday school and Hebrew school are nothing alike, something gets lost in the mix. Let's correct that issue and get a feel for the teaching. Now, when one considers the levels of soul, it should be understood that these aren't separate parts of self, but rather one unified being. The same way the various planes of the Kybalion correspond to the other levels of being, so does each level of soul correspond to the others. To deepen our understanding of soul is to travel deeper into the mystery of our being. We are seeking to understand our relation to God. Unit of consciousness is still the goal. All spiritual practice should be centered on drawing nearer to the source of all being, flat out. So, The basic outline of the levels of soul are nefesh, action, ruach, feeling, neshama, intellect, chaya, and yachida, right? Now, chaya corresponds to the life element of all being. It's an aspect of Godhead most rabbis don't directly teach because it's an interconnected life force permeating the whole of existence, and it gets kind of confusing to describe. It doesn't really translate into words at all. Now, Yahida expands beyond Chaya, but it isn't separate from it. It's the absolute self, what I've been calling the great I am with knowledge of the little I, or the sense of I within everything. Reb Zalman calls it a singularly unique holographic particle of God. That was fun, right? It's my understanding that this is exactly what Yehoshua and Nicodemus were discussing. That which is flesh is nefesh, ruach is water that correlates to chaya, or Yehoshua's living water, which is the life force of all, followed by neshama, or intellect, which is tied into yehida, with the same sense of chaya and ruach are working together. I say that because Yehoshua dedicated his life to teaching people how everything is interconnected. As students of Kabbalah, we are to remember that there was no Sefer Bahir, there was no Sefer Zohar in the Second Temple, period. So we're dealing in Hekalat and Merkaba traditions, right? This is why the blanket term Kabbalah kind of works against us. It's not really accurate. The prophetic ascent to the throne room in Yehoshua's Malchut involved the same methods, but we're running up the Sefer out of a tree of life diagram that hadn't even been written yet. Yes, it was in the Sefer Yetzirah, but there was no diagram. That didn't come until the Sefer Bahir. So yes, all of those teachings are based on how one can come to understand that we are but one with the breath of God, but they don't all agree on how one receives, right? So today, it's really easy to see all the connecting threads because we have so many mystics, so many sages that have come to connect the dots. We're like, nefesh corresponds to the action of body, ruach corresponds to the aspect of feelings, and neshama corresponds to the life element of all being. Duh, physical, mental, and spiritual, right? We're back to Hermes Trismegistus and the wisdom of Kemet. As above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. It's easy to go, well, why didn't they say so? Well, they did, honestly. See, nefesh comes from the word nafash, which means to rest, as in Moshe's own words in Exodus 31:17. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and the earth, above and below, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. Well, where does Adonai rest? Within every human being, right? Ruach means spirited. This chaya coming to rest in all of Malkut throughout the whole sovereignty of being. It corresponds within we human beings because we all intuitively feel something bigger. There's a presence to people, places, and things, an energy that permeates it all, right? Rab Zalman used the analogy of the lilac. I am beautiful, behold me. Come insects and draw from me pollen for nature's work. That is the animating power of vitality with direction more than just propagation. It suggests growth and going beyond the boundaries of self. Well, what propels you? Next is neshama, the literal word for spirit. What makes us ruach mamelo or speaking beings? It's the gift of intelligence, pneuma in the Gospels, or the world of thoughts, right? As Yehoshua taught, Malchut is inside of you and outside of you. So we already know how perception ties into microcosm and macrocosm analogies. As within, so without. It's really easy to peep here. But what about that last line? As the universe, so the soul. Where do we go with that? Well, we take advantage of a well-developed tradition being available to us and internalize the wisdom of the Ari. Rabbi Isaac Lariah, who described how nefesh, ruach, and neshama interact via the analogy of the glassblower, comes to mind. The process begins with the breath, neshama, of the glassblower, blowing into a tube to form a vessel. This breath then travels through the tube as a wind, ruach, until it reaches the vessel. The breath finally enters the vessel, forming it according to the desires of the glassblower, and there it comes to rest, nefesh, right? Puts a whole new spin on Genesis 2:7, doesn't it? God formed humanity out of the dust of the earth, and he blew into his nostrils a soul, neshama, of life. Since the alchemical world's soul impregnates the very dust of the earth, and the divine blower are one and the same, we can still see chaya and yachida playing just beyond the threshold of how we understand existence. Everything is interconnected. Your lungs take in oxygen and kick out carbon dioxide, and the trees drink it in and produce the oxygen we need in a never-ending exchange. Man, stop playing. Mysticism isn't some lofty and whimsical discipline. It's rooted in benign, divine understanding that everything leans. Pratataya Samat Pada to the people of the East. Now let's wrap this up with a brief look at how this ties into Merkaba. I'll address the systems you've seen available at another time. People always find ways to get rich on mysticism, so it is what it is, but Reb Zellman speaks in his personal experience with chariot riding in his masterpiece, Gates to the Heart. Now, though we speak at these levels distinctly, they are, of course, interdependent. This is what we mean by the phenomenon of Merkaba, or chariot, so often spoke of in Kabbalah. Even while I'm in meditation or contemplating with Neshama, the intellect, I need the assistance of Ruach, feeling, and Nefesh, action, as well as the body. So my Neshama is riding in the Ruach of an awakened heart, which is riding in the Nefesh of an awakened energy field, which is riding in the Goof of an awakened body. In this kind of chariot, one vehicle is invested in another. Understanding your connection to the world around you in relation to your thoughts and actions will help shape how you choose to interact. How will you respect the macrocosm, right? Y'all have been awesome. I drop links to the Kybalion along with Reb Zalman's Gates to the Heart and Rabbi Uriah Kaplan's book, Meditation and the Bible, for anyone who wants to study the rabbinical traditions as well as the modern Hermetic philosophies. These disciplines have been a sort of twin flame growing and evolving together for centuries now. Thanks for allowing me to share some of your time and dive deep into the mysteries. Till next time, keep breathing in light and living in love. Yo, I want to take a moment to genuinely thank you for taking an interest in spiritual growth. There's no greater honor a teacher can receive than watching other people learning how to live in love. If each one can teach one, they can reach another and another. And before you know it, love becomes the mode and the entire planet is a more compassionate place. Now we're community people, so pull up your browsers, search mysticalmindstate.com for more resources. There's hundreds of blog posts covering dozens of topics. Now if you look at the top, there's even a tab to reach out. Feel free to email me any questions, prayer requests, special interests, whatever. I'm an approachable guy. This is really what I do. You can skip the email list and hit me on Insta or any of the meta sites. I'm also on Tumblr under the name Brother Hermes. There's over thousands of posts floating around on that one, and there's a huge community of people that I'm active with. It also has an Ask tab, so if you got something you want to know about, feel free to drop an Ask and I'll get to it as quickly as I can. Like this video if we vibe together. Feel free to subscribe and jump in and follow the movement. Enter into the conversation, drop any comments or thoughts below. I'm always open to debate. This is really what I do. I love watching people grow and evolve. I love people finding the divine. You are my reason. Your spiritual growth is my why. So again, thank you for your time. Peace.